Hello and welcome to episode number 30 of the Lenko Show, the place to go for all things health and fitness related. Today, special little show because this weekend we completed a challenge for charity, the Dave Goggins 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And we finished it. And not only that, but it wasn't just us two that were doing the challenge. Former colleague, good friend of mine, Luke Griffiths, personal trainer as well. He will be joining us on today's show to discuss his experience of the challenge. And for the people who are watching on YouTube, you will be able to see that me and Chris are together. We made our own little bubble for the weekend. And well, Chris, we're essentially in a little quarantine phase now, so Chris isn't going to go and contaminate anybody and spread some COVID about, even though he ain't got it. So anyway, we're going to invite Luke in. He's in the waiting room. He's ready to roll, and we will get stuck into it. Hopefully you enjoy this show. You'll be getting a good idea of what we went through, the things that we've endured and suffered. Chris, probably more than me. But we're going to get stuck into all of that. So let's go. Luke, welcome to the show, my man. It's good to have you on.
Cheers, mate. Cheers. Morning.
It's 2 o'clock, isn't it? Do you know what? It's I think it was you last night, Chris, when you went. He looked at me and he went, "Alex," I went, "What?" I went, "It's 8:13 and we're not running."
I was so like that.
How did that feel?
I said to you, when we were speaking over text and things, like, so happy I don't have to run in the dark again. It's like it's done.
So it's a relief that it's over. But how are you actually feeling today? How would you summarize body, mind?
Not too bad. I've been in far worse shapes, if I'm truthful. But tomorrow might be a different story. I sometimes feel it the day after. I woke up this morning, I had a bit of a headache as soon as I got some fluids in me. It's fine. Foot's smarting, but apart from that, all good. I've been kind of a usual day, so been out, trained with a couple of clients and walked the dog and a little bits and bats, but yeah.
Still been busy then.
Yeah.
How are you feeling today, Chris?
Slow. I feel slow. Truthfully, I don't feel too bad now. I had a very low productivity morning. Like I just lazed around. I didn't have anything planned or anything like that. I did programming and then
that'll probably hit me now.
Yeah.
like the brain and things like that might be. You might ask me some questions and then I'll be like.
So I suppose the first question is, well, why did you do it? Why did you do the 4x4 by 48?
It's a strange question, that, but I would probably say the answer mainly to it is intrigue. There's no other race I've ever done like this. So I first heard about it on the Andy Stumpf podcast. He was talking to a guy I follow called Chad Wright, who's in the Goggins Cam Haynes ultra 200 miles distance running, just absolute men of a different gravy, is the easiest way to say it. I was listening to that and he basically said, Goggins is doing this 4x4 by 48. And by sheer happenstance, that was on Tuesday, Googled it on my phone. It was like, it's happening this weekend.
Oh, so you literally made the decision about 4 days beforehand?
Yeah. I had to okay with the boss and she said, yeah, that's fine. So yeah.
So just go through because I know what that's like, because I've had to do that a couple of times. But you know, when you're getting the okay and the approval from the boss at HQ,
yeah.
What was that conversation like?
Cup of tea. Hi, hello. This run on Friday through till Sunday, and told her what it was, and she was like, "Yeah, that's fine." Like I meant to, she was going to be working on some Saturday night, which I was like, because I could just kind of do what I wanted to do, but she ended up had a bit of car issues, so she ended up taking that off, not being able to get there. So it's actually, she was just fine with it. Luckily she was okay, but it's a case of, at the minute, everything's backwards in terms of with what's going on. So it's not like the weekends, yeah, they are a weekend, and we normally keep them to ourselves, but with both our jobs at the minute, we can pick and choose when we work. So Wednesday's generally our day together, and Saturday, Sundays, I go off and do stupid things like bike rides and other stuff with mates. And she recognises that, so she might put, like, say for instance, next Sunday she's working, I'll go off and do a bike ride. It doesn't mean we get any less time together, anything, just it fits okay. So
yeah,
it would have fit okay, and she was more than happy to help out when she needed. As I said in my Facebook videos, she did really well actually in terms of coaching and things. She was as stubborn as she needed to be at times, and put her arm around me when she needed to, and just told me the right motivational things. She knows how I work, so it's not a case of pandering to me. It's more a case of, well, other people have done far worse positions than you. Crack on. So
she sent you out for kitchen roll and milk as well, didn't she?
Yeah, kitchen roll at milk on Sunday morning. Cracking.
Probably arguably one of the worst points, but we'll get into that. But it's good to know that she's keeping her foot on the pedal. And
that was it. We needed the milk anyway, because I wanted a cup of tea and probably a protein shake and things like that, and we were out.
What was your conversation with Caroline like, Chris?
I think it was similar to mine and yours. It's just a case of, I just told her I was doing it, and she was like, right. My level of communication isn't normally very good, so the fact that I told her was a bonus point.
Yeah,
I told her in advance as well, so and she's nowhere near me at the moment. Obviously, she's back where she lives, so it was fine for her.
Yeah,
I was going to say, I think when I first saw it on Dave Goggins' Facebook page a while back, and I turned to Fiona and I said, "Oh, I've got another challenge," and she just went, "All right," and like rolled over. I was like, "Do you want to know what I'm doing?" She was like, "Go on then." So then I told her, and she was like, "Why? Why don't you just do one long run? Like, why are you making it last the entire weekend?" And then, basically just told us that was what the challenge was, wasn't it? Every 4 hours, can you do the 4 miles? Can you get up out of bed and pull yourself out of that?
Yeah, that was your original question, which went off topic, but so there's just the intrigue. So you can plan for, it's what I kind of wrote down to myself, is that a marathon, you can do all the prep for it you want. You can run, roughly what time you're going to run, when you're going to have food, and how you're going to react at certain points. To some degree, like you'll get 80% of it probably, what's going to happen. With this, it was a case of, I know I can run 4 miles. Yeah. But and then what? Then you rest, and then normally you've got at least a day or so's rest potentially, or maybe a bit shorter, but to then stop and have the recovery and the time to almost think on it, and the pain to set in, and any inflammation to occur and things like that. And I wrote it down, and I was like, well, because I go on long bike rides, so they're like 60 miles plus easy most times. If it's mountain biking, it'll be a bit less, might be about 20, 30. So I fuel every 45 minutes. That's what I know my body reacts to that. That's why I know I'll get through things. I'll fuel every 45 minutes. Now this run, I'll probably run less than 45 minutes, but I'll need to fuel. But then I've got 45 minutes, like 3 hours of rest before I go again. So we'll do 8 normal food at that time. And then my main concern with it was water levels. So I've got nephrotic syndrome, which is basically an autoimmune disease, and your kidneys leak protein. But what it does with you is you get a lot of edema, and basically your water levels you can control them to a degree, but you're unsure of where they'll be at certain times. So for instance, when I go on bike rides with my friends, sometimes I'll be absolutely smashing it, and other times they'll be waiting for me because I'm just in absolute pieces. And funny story, actually, Alex has been a witness to this. So I think it was 2017 we did the Tough Mudder. Can you remember that, mate?
I'm sure I can. Was that the one where Sam was rugby tackling everybody?
Yes, but can you remember what happened in the second leg of the mile of mud?
Didn't you get yeah, you got cramped, didn't you?
So
was it cramp in both legs?
Cramp, basically full body rigor mortis cramp is the easiest way to say it. So I was probably 3/4 of the way through training for a marathon then. So I knew I could do the distance, knew I could do the obstacles. It was basically getting clients around. But it was about 4 obstacles from the end. And I literally was that. And Alex was like throwing me like some Scottish Highlander over these 10-foot high mounds of mud, picking me up the other side and then throwing me over again. And it was just like, that was just, the water levels hadn't been controlled. Essentially, I'd not drunk enough and I'd not had enough electrolytes. So that was my main concern going in, is making sure that I'd not only fed properly, but had enough minerals and water within my system.
You know, it was quite funny that, because I'm fairly close. I remember being in that situation where I kind of like, I'm leaning up against that pile of mud with my back to it, and then like hold my hands out in front so you can step on him. And I thought, I'm going to fling him over this. And you stepped on it. And I just thought, there you go, have that. That really boost you up and chuck you over the top.
I think on one of them I actually landed on someone on the other side.
Good fun, that. So I mean, you know, my next question in terms of the 4x48 challenge was just going to be around your training for it, but considering you decided you were going to do it like 3 days before it started, pretty irrelevant. So should we just move on?
No. You can talk about that, because if I'd have been asking myself at any other time, or a client or something like that, I would have definitely done some form of training for it and put sleep in with it, because that was the bit that I found quite difficult. But I've been running fairly consistent distances with clients through this time. So like last Sunday I run 30k with a client. So I had distances in my legs. I'd run 5k before that and then 10k the day after. So I knew I had a decent amount of mileage in my legs. And as long as I could control the bits in between, like recovery wise, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
It's just trying to,
because you're quite a good runner anyway. I do know that.
Yeah, it's just naturally from I'd say not from birth, but from childhood. It's one of my things I'm a bit of a believer in. If you do things at an early age, you take them on, your body will grow into that way. So for instance, you with kicking, you probably, people who listen to this will not know, but if anybody listens to Alex kick a football, it just sounds different, is the only way to describe it, and you wouldn't want to get in the way of it. And that comes from you saying you were kicking a ball up a hill when you were a kid and just let it roll back down, then boot it again, then boot it again.
Yeah.
And that,
What hill?
Ripnall on the avenue. I'd stand down at the bottom near our house and just kick that like size 3 football right up to the top. As I just always used to kick it as far and as high as possible. And if it hit a neighbour's car, it didn't matter because it bounced back down the hill.
yeah, no advantage.
Can't say I do.
Anyway, before I get sued by anybody, any old neighbours.
So there was that, and then a mate did he did Land's End to John O'Groats at the age of like 16 as a cyclist, and I've never met anybody who can go out of almost, he's a fair weather rider, so he'll basically take the summer off, he'll come back into riding. I might ride like 20-30 miles maybe on the road bike this is, and feel it. He'll go, oh yeah, I've done that as well, I'm feeling it a bit today. The next week he'll go out and do 60, the next week he'll go out and do 90. So it'll take him 4 rides to get back to like 100 miles or something stupid. And he's just got that kind of ingrained in his system where his body knows, oh, we can do this, we've done this before. Might smart a bit to start with, but then we've recovered, it's back up to that level almost, where it just remembers what it has to do.
Yeah, it's
so
part of that thing of
running around.
it's knowing that you've done it before, knowing that you're capable of doing it and you can do it. I think that's what gives a lot of people hope for actually doing this challenge. Because like you say, you can run the 4 miles, you could run well, you can run a double marathon, really, can't you? You know, you
Yeah.
can run 26 miles, but then there's a point at where you hit the unknown, and it's like, well, you know, can I get to 40 miles? Can I get to 44, 48? What were your expectations around sort of like the biggest challenges with the challenge itself? What were you thinking were going to be the big hurdles?
Water levels and sleep. So when I'd written it all down, put all my nutrition down, things like that. There's some funny bits to it, actually. So I'd written everything down, thought sleep's going to be the hardest thing here because I'll be buzzing. So I used to play when we were allowed to play out with people. Play football on a Sunday night at 7 till 8, and I'd run around like an absolute idiot chasing people. So I'll go hell for leather for an hour, but be that buzzing when I got home, not being able to sleep till like 1 o'clock. And granted, I'm not running at those speeds or at that intensity during this, but I was like, right, am I going to be able to sleep a wink, or am I going to be like on fire? So that was my main concern. So it was just like making sure that I could be comfortable enough, and as well give the expectation to Kaylee that, look, I'm going to be coming in at these times. Be aware that I will be making noise. It will be hard. I won't be able to keep quiet. Like coming upstairs, it'll be just basically potentially a shuffle. So if I want to get into actual like bed and sleep at the side of you, and I'm like, I could be dead to the world when I'm asleep. Kaylee is the complete opposite. She could. I won't swear, actually. I don't know if you can swear on this podcast.
Freedom of speech on here, mate.
You could hear a mouse piss on cotton. That's how, basically, if that happened, she'd wake up. So it's like, again, two different people, but I just give her that expectation that took the pressure off me, not being able to basically be how I needed to be at that time to get back in, and just trying to sleep was going to be, I thought, the worst. In terms of the nutrition, it was figuring stuff out. So I used 2 types of electrolytes, which is High Five and My Sport. High Five 0 calories, and My Sport has quite a bit of sugar in it. So I was like, I'll use the High Five. What I've not thought of was the other caffeine elements, shall we say, and other stimulants that might be taken into place. So I'd have one after each run. I was just thinking, like, why am I not getting to sleep? And that was probably it. So I changed it to a banana just to give me the potassium, to give me water levels the right balance, and that helped a bit. But
yeah, I mean, I think I was under strict orders. I don't know about you, but I was under strict orders to have a shower before getting back into bed after the midnight 4 a.m. runs.
I was instructed that I had to change my clothes and shower before I went, because the shower would have woken her up. So basically, take the clothes off, towel off, get some fresh clothes on, get into bed. And a couple of them I tried to sleep downstairs on the sofa.
So were you putting fresh running kit on before getting back into bed?
No, I was putting just regular clothes on, and then I'd change back into fresh running kit. Every run, by midnight and 4 o'clock, I had fresh running kit. And when I say fresh running kit, it was just the top, because I've only got one luminescent top essentially to run in.
So I think, I mean, you know this, but I was wearing essentially fresh running kit every time except from the bottoms and a little bit like you, like the top. But it got to the point where I think it was the Sunday morning after the 4 a.m. run where it was quite cold, and I think I was feeling the cold as well. I was feeling really, really cold. So I put a coat on over the top. I remember we ran that one and I got back and I was really, really sweaty. I was literally dripping. So the top was wet through. And then I wore it again for the Sunday 8 a.m. So I'd worn it for about 8-9 runs all the way through. And then I wore it for the Sunday 8 a.m. And I remember trying to get back into the house. I got the key out my pocket, went up to the lock. And as I bent my elbow, I just felt like this squeeze, like wringing a towel as sweat just poured out from that running top into the sleeve of the coat. And I thought, I'm going to change this top now, because it was just getting wetter and wetter and wetter. And, you know, as much as it was like, almost a challenge. Like, could I keep doing it in that same smelly kit? I was like, no, I'm going to reward myself with some fresh clothes now, I think.
Well, that's it. Like with cycling and stuff, you get like the white powder, which is obviously salt from your sweat. You'll probably get it on other tops as well. You probably had it. And what they say for cycling is for ultimate salt saturation levels before you have to change your clothes, it's basically 2 days worth of riding. So when I've done coast to coast and things like that, it's basically change your kit every 2 days, otherwise you are going to chafe. And that's basically where you're only riding twice then, day to day. This is 12 runs, so you have to change it each time, otherwise your chances of chafe go massively. So if you get fresh clothes on, clean yourself as well, you're going to eliminate a lot of that.
You had to deal with a bit of chafing as well, didn't you, Chris?
On the Sunday, I think it was midday Sunday. I think it was the last 2 runs.
Yeah.
Like
just when you need it.
I know. But interestingly, I was still showering and changing clothes. I was wearing a new set of clothes each time, bar the first 2 runs. After the very first 2, I changed my clothes each time. But yeah, it was just before those last 2, I was like, oh, hang on. Oh, my legs are rubbing together a bit there. So yeah, that was a new element of difficulty for the last 2.
Yeah, I made the decision to lube up from the start. I was greasing up and chucking Vaseline on from the very beginning, so I had to minimise the chances of any chafing.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. That brilliant
necessary.
Stuff.
So we will get into so like your more specific food, nutrition, hydration, and your inter-run recovery strategies. But first off, I just want to go through the mindset from like run to run and some of the major points for you. So like, what were you thinking at the end of your first run or partway through it?
Before I went into the run, I had slight concern of my foot. So my foot started hurting 3 o'clock on Friday, and I don't know what it was. I'd done a trail run with a client on Thursday morning and worn my trail shoes. I don't worn them in a while, and they're barefoot trail shoes. So I think it was just sheer impact that on the outside of my right foot, going all the way around the edge of the heel, was just pain. It's just the easiest way to say it. But luckily, I've been listening to Chadwick White, and he's got. He came up with a theory whilst I was listening to the podcast. So actually, that does ring home true, in that if you acknowledge pain and almost give it life, that's not all you're gonna be thinking about. So if you just don't acknowledge it at all, it's gone. It's not there. It's not a thing. Almost like you'll feel it in your own body, but it's not. It doesn't have that like power over you. So my main thing was just the foot and how it was feeling, and all my clients and people who knew I was doing it were texting me out of the first run, gone this and the other. How's the foot? Was every question I asked, and each one was fine. It's not a problem at all. Feeling great. So just, he calls it the power of the spoken word. I think I just call it the power of words, because I don't really fancy shouting out loud in the middle of people going, I feel fine, or anything like that. So I just write it down. It's just as powerful for me doing that. So I just call it the power of words. If you write it down or you say it out loud, whichever way, it's strong. It does actually have an effect for me personally, anyway.
Sorry, go on.
After that first run, it was basically, that foot feels all right. It's good to go. Let's get some sleep. And that was the best sleep I had. 8 till 12 on the first day was the best sleep I had.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have been up since 5 that morning, so
that might make a difference. Do you know what I think? It's pretty significant though. Like in terms of acknowledging your pain, like you said, if you focus on it and you get involved in it and you think, well, how bad is it? How painful is it? And you start complaining about how painful it is, it magnifies it times 10. Whereas I know in the past when I've done certain things, and I had Fiona actually asked me when I was doing one challenge, she was like, oh, how you feel? No, she held a gate open for me. And I looked at her before she managed to speak to me. I said, don't ask me how I'm feeling, because it'll be a lie. Like if she was going to go, oh, how you doing? I was going to be like, I'm fine. So I just said, like, don't even bother asking me how I'm feeling. It'll be a lie. What I tell you will be a lie. Just carry on. So like walk through.
I remember that story. That was a 3 Peaks, wasn't it? I had not joined then. I had not joined them, but I got told that story.
So she like let me and Sam through the gate, and then she was like, all right. And she just walked off. She just walked off ahead because me and Sam had just legged it down a hill and we were both completely gassed. And yeah, I think that partway through this, there were obviously people checking in and going, how are you? And I don't know, you'll have had this as well. And it's, oh, how are you doing? How's it going? How many runs left? And I was like, just don't ask me that. Just don't ask me that. I'm just focusing on the next one. I'm fine. Focus on the next one. Yeah. I mean, you were in a fair bit of.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did the same, but I did it slightly differently. So like I'd had quite a lot was going on with my feet and toes, which I just kind of ignored because like I knew they were going to be fine. That was just stuff from running and accumulating distance. Whereas my actual knee, like on our third video, I was genuinely limping very badly. And I was like, okay, this is serious. And it was like, rather than just pain, is it, I'm actually going to do some serious long-term damage here. So I limped my way through that one. And it was like, right, I'm just going to have some painkillers. Once I've had painkillers, they'll do the job and it'll be fine. And that was literally how I looked at it after that. Like there was still a bit of pain, but I remember thinking as I was going around, there was a lot of them where it's like, oh, like it really feels like it's swelling up as I'm going. And I just said to myself, no, it's just, I've had ibuprofen. It's just the anti-inflammatories. Like genuinely, that's just what I said to myself.
That's it. It's almost been ignorant with yourself.
Yeah.
But like with yours, like you say, your knee and things like that. Alex messaged me saying Chris's knee's not looking too good, and I was just like, I don't envy you at all because like the foot, like you say, you can kind of get around. It's on the bottom of your leg is what I was saying to clients. It's fine, it's still there. I can use it. But the knee, I think it'd be you did well getting around all that, mate. I'll be honest. I was like, well done.
Well, I appreciate that. It was pretty grim.
Yeah.
What was your experience of the night run? So you said your best sleep was 8 till 12 on the first night. What was your experience of the actual night runs like overall?
8 o'clock, just nice because it was early enough where there were kind of cars out and other runners and things like that, but there weren't too many people on pavements, so you could just kind of run, get on with it. 12 o'clock is basically if a car pulls up at the side of me, get ready to start swinging. It's the easiest thing. Not that I live in a rough area or anything like that, but I was like very conscious of that, and I only saw a few cars. But I was just like, yeah, just be aware the people at this time are a bit crazy. 4 o'clock, absolutely delightful. Birds tweeting, still dark, but I was like, yeah, it's nice.
See, I actually sent Sam Wilkinson a message telling him 4 a.m. was delightful. And he was like, haha, sarcasm. And I was like, no, genuine. That was the best time to be out, best time to be running. I don't know how you felt. It was peaceful. 4 a.m., but it was peaceful.
Yeah, well, best way to describe it, peaceful. There was not anybody around. If I just saw a car go by, I think I might have seen 2. I was like, there go getters.
I mean, it was like all you could hear was around where we live, there were farmyard animals kicking off and birds tweeting, and then that was it. But I think the midnight run on the Friday night was, I mean, there's some weird characters out at that time, I tell you. I don't know how you found that around there, Luke.
Well, like I was running on one patch of all mine was done basically. I run out of mine, which comes down to like there's a nature reserve opposite, and I'm definitely not running through there at that time. And then like basically like an estate full of bungalows. So I run through the bungalows onto the main road, and then it was just a straight stretch on the main road, there and back, which you probably want to be your questions later on, but I'll come into that when we come to it. Anyway, I was running along at 12 and didn't see anything on the pavement at this particular point. Run back, fine. Try to sleep, didn't occur. This was the Sunday. back in, watch the UFC, back out. And as I was running along, I just see this broken bottle on the floor. And I'm just thinking, when did that occur in the last 4 hours? And that was good to miss.
It was, I mean, that was the thing, because when we went out on midnight on the first night, that was like, we were running around, and I thought there were a few groups of people that I saw, and I just thought, do you know what? If I ever need a bag of stimulant, I know where to come and I know when to come. Like, this is where I'm going, and this is when I'm going. Like, this is the place where it's at.
Yeah.
So, but then when we went out, I think when we did the 4 a.m. run and then the 8 a.m. run, you just end up finding weird shit around the route. Like, there was a scarf, a coat, a random t-shirt appeared from somewhere.
Yeah.
Someone left a load of cable around the corner. Whatever it was. And we were like you, when did this happen? When did this occur? There's some weird shit that goes on overnight, gotta say.
The best one for me was as I was running out of call it Retiredville, because it's all bungalows and old folk, bless them. We'll come out of there, go onto the main road, and as I pull onto the main road, there's just this fish tank that's been left on a wall. They've clearly had a family bereavement, bless them, and it's got all the food in it and stuff, and someone just put it out on the wall for like a kid to take or something like that and get a fish. And I was like, fish tank's still there, fish tank's still there. And I was like, where's this fish tank gonna go? And then it went, and I was like, wonder who's taking that. It's the weirdest things ever. Yeah. But no, 4 o'clock was, like I said, really peaceful. Just birds and the odd fox here and there. Just really nice to be out.
So I don't think we noticed any wildlife. Yeah, no foxes or...
No, the only thing that I can recall was looking at a sausage dog, as we saw a sausage dog on the Sunday.
Did we?
Well, I don't know if you did, but I did, because Caroline loves sausage dogs, so I look out for them. I actually, funnily enough, I think it was like law of attraction, because I was thinking as I was running around, I was thinking about Pickles, which is her sausage dog. And I thought, I wonder if Pickles had run this with me. I don't know why. Obviously, I was tired and I was just thinking strange things. And then we saw a sausage dog. So, with an owner, obviously, it wasn't just us.
Yeah. I didn't set mine on any, thank God, because he's a nightmare.
I was going to say, I think if you'd have taken your dog on each one, it would have probably got to the point where whenever you got your lead out, your dog would have suffered with some form of PTSD and just kind of started to attack you instead.
It does that now. If I go on I could do probably about 15k with him. Then if I pick up his lead the next morning, he's looking at me like, are we going on a run or are we going on a walk?
So for you, what were the standout difficulties, hard parts, or unexpected obstacles?
Written down beforehand. The most certain thing that you can be certain of is uncertainty, because I've just never done anything like it before. So just kind of expect stuff to go wrong or stuff to happen. And if you take note of what things went around, so you were running a loop, which looking back, I'd have said, no, next, if I ever do it again, anything like this, I probably wouldn't do that. And the reason being is just by sheer happenstance, because I was planned it last minute. I thought I'll do a couple of loops and try and find out what's exactly 4 miles. I thought I ain't got time to do that. I'm just going to have to use Google Maps and go 2 miles there, but 2 miles back. It's the easiest way to make out 4. So what give me that mindset is I only have to run halfway and I'm coming back home anyway. It's the quickest route from A to B. As long as I get to halfway, it's fine. So I was like, right, I live halfway up a hill, so I've got to come uphill or downhill at some point, which is minging, but let's just go uphill first, get that out of the way, and it's downhill home. You're done then. You don't have to kind of trudge up a hill, stop or anything like that. It's downhill, just lean forward and let your feet do the rest. So it was just a case of, and that was just by sheer luck. I hadn't planned that, but that's clearly what was happening. As I got to the 3rd and 4th run, I thought, this is happening, this is why it's happening. It's a lot easier to do that. With you running a loop, not that it ever entered my mind, but there's always that thing of, I could just cut across here. Just go by home, have a quick cup of tea or something like that and get back out. I don't mind if I do this one a bit less.
Did you say that majority of your route was one long straight road?
Yeah, which is another thing I tell clients with certain things. So I think you get, say, for instance, a 10K. You get long 10Ks and short 10Ks. And the easiest way to describe it is, imagine a long straight road, which is what I had. You basically like, right, I'm running from here to there. And that's one bit. It might be 40 minutes long, but you can kind of like, you know where you're going. It's headspace. You run one where you're going, I'll go around this tree, turn here, go down this street, go down that street, go down this street. It's broken up into like 20 mini segments. And you're like, oh, I've been running for this long and it's just this amount. And it was just so much easier to go, right, get onto that road, run there, run back, done. And it was just almost simple.
So we literally did exactly what you were saying. So we were like, right, we're gonna do this part, run to this part, get to around that corner. And there was one part on our last two, we actually changed the route because we went further. And I don't know how you fared with this, but we were running towards Carrington, and that was the longest straight road that we'd run on doing this route. And for me, it was just like, because I'd got used to doing like the loop, I was then running and I was like, the end of this straight road is not getting any nearer to me. This is awful. I found that psychologically quite challenging doing that part.
Yeah. Well, that's it. But again, it's what you're used to. So because you've not been used to that, it's like new. So you're like, oh, I should be at the end of this road by now. I know how long this road takes, especially in a car if you can drive it.
Yeah.
You're like, I'd be here by now in a car. It's 20 seconds, but running, it's obviously, you're not going 30 mile an hour or whatever. I changed the last route as well. And I changed it for a place where I walk the dog, mainly because my foot was hurting quite a bit at that point. And I was cold. So basically it was like a loop around me. So we've got an off-road trail this side of the house. And at the back of us, we actually back onto the Transpennine Trail. Back of our house, Transpennine Trail. So I thought if I do one loop of that, that's a mile. I know that. If I've warmed up by then, I'll take off my coat with like a zip hoodie and just throw it over the fence. I don't have to worry about it. And then I'll be all right then. So I did that, and then basically kept on doing that loop for 4. So that worked out okay. But I would definitely not run that loop in the dark or for the others. That was the last one. It was right for that time. But in terms of what you said about I should be doing this should be over by now, the end of this road. I was like that with the loop. I was like, this loop shouldn't take this long. Just because I've not been used to it. I've not had that stimulus. Remembered it that time, Lenko.
The road that Christopher is referring to is one that I've run it a few times before, and it heads pretty much, if you keep going, you get to a roundabout, and you keep going across there, you get to Man United's training ground. So we're running down it, and this was the point where we're kind of counting down, like, what do we need to do in terms of distance to make this a double marathon? So I worked out that we needed to be sort of like, it was 2.75 miles out to halfway, and then 2.75 back for a 5.5 mile run. And I thought, when I was sat at home, I thought, right, okay, if we do that distance and we get to the end of that road, we'll be all right. That'll be it. We'll get to that roundabout. We'll turn back, head back. So the road that Chris is on about, like, never actually, you're running, you can see the end of it, but it never seems to actually get any closer because everything's really wide, expansive. Anyway, I remember looking at my phone, checking the distance, and I was shocked. I was like, I cannot believe that is literally as short as that. So we got to this roundabout, and then we just had to keep going. We went round the corner, down past the field of horses. And
it's the biggest kick in the knackers you can ever have is that as well. I was doing it as well. I was like, it's over half a mile is this. For like, if you're doing like a mile to run there and back, I'm like, I've run more than half a mile.
Joe, we had another good one as well. So I was playing my Strava through my phone on loud, so it tells you when you've run 1 mile, or at least it did, every mile, or at least it did for like the first 3 runs, and then after that, I don't know why it wasn't announcing it. So you'd go out and you run, you'd get like 25 minutes in, what have you, and all of a sudden you think, you know what? I don't think we've covered a mile yet. Strava's not said anything. So I'm like looking towards before. It's like, oh, it's not said anything. But you've got a moment of panic where it's like, holy shit, I've been running for this long and I don't think I've even covered a mile yet.
Yeah. You have that in, do you know, you get like your sponsored races and you like official races.
Yeah.
You'll get to like, it'll say, oh, mile 10, you've got to mark it, oh, feel grand. You'll keep on running, you're running, and your head will go somewhere, and you'll be like, yeah, fine, you went. Not seen mile 11 yet. Oh, I must have passed it, not realise. You'll see like a one in the distance, and you're like, it's mile 12. You get there, it says 11, you're like, where's that gone? It's happened there.
That's
having me on. And then you run next one, it's like 2 seconds or something. So it's just, it's strange. It's a weird thing to comprehend, and it's just as long as you're mentally strong enough to kind of just think, well, that sucks. Just keep on going.
I was going to say, I think if you can find humor in the moment, then you'll be all right. Did you have any like little motivational kind of rewards that you had in place, like run by run or anything like that?
Not really that, but I got, when I was discussing it with Kaylee to say I was doing it, she was like, what is this? And she was like, well, she's like, oh yeah, you can do it. And she was like, and I'm like, it's going to be quite hard. I mean, should be easy for you. And what she said was, Eddie Izzard run 1 mile for 26 days straight. And she actually used the word, and you're a lot fitter than him. And then I corrected her and said, actually, it was a marathon each day for 26 days straight or something. And then did 26 gigs straight. And she was like, this should be easy then, shouldn't it? Again, men of a different gravy, but no, I use things as my motivation is almost what you're complaining about. So I listen to things, and one I use quite a lot is Eddie Izzard is one, but there's a UFC guy called Francis Ngannou who's a heavyweight contender. He's fighting for the title. His next fight at end of March. And he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was saying at one point he had to get. He was getting to France basically from Cameroon. And at one point, he was made the captain of this raft that had to get to Spain. I can't remember where they were coming from, but they'd run out of paddles, so he had to paddle with his hands to Spain. And I thought, if he can do that, I'm sure I can run up this hill. So it's just stuff like that, just saying people have been in a lot worse situation with this. Stop being so happy, as Kaylee puts it, and just crack on. And that was kind of it. Just like the hardest part for anybody, clients, yourselves, normally is just make the decision to get out the door and go out the door. If you go out the door, the rest is pretty much done, isn't it? Really, just crack on. You might have some hardships on the way, but just do it. That's
it. Like literally, the challenge is getting out the door, isn't it?
Yeah.
But how much of that is the challenge with being fit and healthy anyway, and going out?
That's what I mean.
Exercising.
You ask your clients or people, what's the hardest bit? Getting your gym kit on and getting in the car.
Yeah.
Why home workouts are very hard to do unless you've got someone like my clients said to me, who I train online, like I need more one-to-one time with you online, because if you say to me do this and this, I find it so much harder and longer to actually complete, because it's almost on my onus and my chair's right there. Whereas if I've got someone looking at me, I'll do it. So it's just having that it booked in with someone. It's not just you, then it's someone else that you've got to compete with. And I'm actually using this as kind of a test. So another thing I'm doing at this minute in time, I'm doing like 3 medals at once is the easiest way to describe it. So I've done this. I'm doing 100 miles in March for the WWF fundraiser, which is World Wildlife, by the way, not wrestling.
Well, you're over halfway there now, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I thought that, so I thought it's cheating. So I'm just going to put 4 mile for each day. So 4 mile Friday, 4 mile Saturday, 4 mile Sunday. Otherwise, there's just I'm halfway, so it's just not a point. So, and I might even lessen that down a bit, just so I've got some onus to go out. And it's just a case of mindset of what works for certain people. So I found this so much easier because it was 4 by 4 by 4. You get up every 4, you do 4, and it was structured. So when people say like, oh, average 10,000 steps a day and things like that, is that easier? Is it just one number at the end of a certain period that's better for people? What's going to work best? So it's just almost a case of what is going to work better for me. And I, hand on heart at this moment, say that the 4 by 4 by 48 would be easier for me to do because it's kind of laid out and I know what I've got to do, rather than the onus almost been on myself and saying 100 miles, up to you how you're doing and when you're doing. You've almost got too much freedom with that, but we'll see. We are only 8 days into March, but we'll see on that. So, and then I've got another one that's like it was more geared towards my half Ironman at the end of the year, where I think it's 1400k in 300 days or something like that. So you've got to average about 6k a day. And I was actually behind on that by, the good thing about it at the bottom is it tells you the percentage. So it said that something like I've got 20% of my days gone, but I'm only 18% of the way through my distance. Because at the end of Jan, I had my COVID jab, and it basically not fatigued me for about 2 weeks in terms of running. Like I felt rough when I ran. Felt okay in terms of just myself, but I felt rough running. Like I could feel that I was fatigued. And so it took me out of whack for 2 weeks. And now I'm about 8% in front after this weekend. So it's done me a job. So there's like several different ways of going about it. So that's how it's almost an experiment to see what works. And then I can use that with people I train to say, if that way doesn't work, we'll try this way. If that way doesn't work, we'll try this way. Try and give them visual, almost visual markers to hit. Yeah. And if that works better, than not putting too much pressure on, but saying we want this done by the end. Because I know for a fact that I'd probably leave it to the last 2 days and have 30 miles to do and have to do 30 miles in 2 days or something, which should obviously be a lot hellacious, more pain over the 2 days than, say, for instance, doing however many over 7 days or something. I'd be the guy who left it to last minute.
What did you have in terms of food, hydration, recovery between runs? What were your strategies there?
So the way I worked it out is first evening I had a iced tonic drinks and food after the 8 till 12. So I quickly smashed some food down. 8 till 12. Then after that, it was basically iced tonic drinks through the night. 4 o'clock, I had a protein shake afterwards to replenish me because I didn't want basically food sitting on my stomach while I slept. Was the theory. I didn't have much sleep anyway during, but I wanted to try and be as comfortable as possible with sleeping. And again, one of the hard things of the race was you had time to eat in between if you wanted to. So I just had regular meals. So it's like breakfast, porridge. Dinner was, I think, tinned mackerel and rice, just to get some oils and fats in there. And then beef curry on Saturday night. I'm just going to get that off the dog. Was that allowed?
Your dog's just been sat down there chewing on its, what is it?
It's a buffalo horn.
The buffalo horn.
Yeah.
Crikey.
Sure. Is it too loud?
No, it's all right. It's all right. Probably piss off the listeners a bit.
Yeah.
What did you eat as like your first meal after? Because I don't know if you found this, but I kind of found that during all the running, I wasn't really that hungry.
Hardest bit of it. Well, one of the hardest bit of it as well. Just like you've got to eat, which is where protein shakes come in so helpful. I've got to be careful of the amount of protein I have, so I had to kind of limit them. But it was just like bang, it's something in. It's not me eating away myself. I'm actually using this fuel to replenish. But yeah, I found it quite like hard to eat. So just things that I wanted to eat, so things that were actually going to be tasty, and just not have to chew as much. So like curries and things like that, obviously, they're broken down quite a bit. Mackerel, again, easy. And the breakfast was just porridge. I didn't manage to eat all that, so it's just a case of getting stuff down. And I've like the odd bits like 4 Haribo is my go between for 45 minutes. So I alternate between fructose and glucose just to keep not to get runner's belly or anything like that. So a banana, and then 4 or 5 Haribo, and then banana and 4 or 5 Haribo, and that was in between each run, just to again get sugars back in there quickly, electrolytes back in there, iced tonic drink. If I was really struggling, I had Beta Fuel, which is Science in Sports products, which it's like 60 grams of carbs in an iced tonic drink essentially. So just takes food out of the equation, just bang, get it down, done.
Yeah,
it's easier on the stomach.
Easy
You
way
can
to
get some
do
sleep, in theory.
How did you sleep overall?
Shockingly bad. So the first bit, 8 till 12, was the best sleep I got. I got 3 hours then. I think I got an hour and a half between 4 and 8 on the Saturday morning. All right. No, I didn't sleep then actually. It was between 12 and 4 on a Saturday midday. And then I got an hour and a half on 8 till 12 on Saturday evening. And then didn't sleep after that. So my last sleep before I actually finished was quarter to 12 on the Saturday. Is that right? Yeah. Quarter to 12 on the Saturday night. That makes sense.
So then no sleep through Saturday night and Sunday morning?
No, because again, stupidly, I watched the UFC. So when I got back from 12 o'clock, the UFC fight started and it kicks off at about 3 o'clock, and I just didn't get any sleep then. And then watched it.
Great.
And that's probably why I fatigued so much. It's fine at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning, but by 12, I was feeling it big time. And then 12 till 4 was probably the roughest point. I've thought, this is going to hurt now quite a lot, because I was drained within my body and my foot was starting to hurt. So between where you made up the mileage in, or 5 miles, I think, for the last 2 or something like that, 6 miles for the last 2, I did actually a run and walk in between with the dog just to keep my foot going, because it was absolutely throbbing. If I stopped, it kind of almost recovered itself a bit, and then I stepped on it again, it was twice as painful. So it was almost like just keep going with the dog. So that's why I made myself up to the half marathon. And I had a bit of bad news actually during that point. I bumped into, well, not me personally, but something that just keeps you a bit more on track. I bumped into a neighbour at the end of the road that I hadn't seen for a while. They told me that they've recently been told they've got cancer. So you're just like, well, bigger picture, I'm sure I can get through this again. So just kind of opened my eyes a bit and just thought, well, you can do that. And he's taken it massively in his stride and done superb with it from what I was speaking to him with. So I was just like, that's definitely got me through the last bit. So it's just, like I said, just that sleep was the hardest bit after controlling my water levels, but that worked fine. So the sleep, yeah.
Yeah. So I know you've got to go in a moment, but before you do go, what's your standout moment from the challenge, from the running?
Standout moment? Oh, I think it'd be just, it would be Kaylee telling me to go get the shopping. That's just funny. And just other people, just like, it's funny how you get the people who not know you, but like you get people saying, well done, pat on the back, yeah, it's brilliant. And she was saying to me throughout that she was proud of me and stuff, and it's just keeping you just that humility and humble, like, you're gonna go get that milk and kitchen roll then. I'm just like, fantastic. So queuing up in Sainsbury's local, looking like hell. Just things to keep you humble and grounded. That would be the standout bit for me. But if I was, I have got a bit of extra time so I can talk. So I've actually got a question that for you two. Do you think you'd have fared better, barring Chris's injury, running by yourselves or as a pair?
It's hard to say, because the thing is, I think with us, we just like, we lock in and we just go. So like there wasn't really much communication at all, was there, while we were actually running?
We didn't speak. The one moment that we actually really spoke was on the final run where we were doing, it was like 5.8 miles or something like that. And it was something that I'd mentioned to Chris before we'd even started on the Friday. I was like, are you running in your Metcons? And he went, yeah. And I went, right, okay, interesting. And he kind of left it there, kind of like left it there. And then, like, 49 miles in,
Yeah.
I think I said to him, I was like, Chris, I've got a point of improvement for you for next time. And you were like, go on, what's that? And I went, next time you take up a running challenge, buy some running trainers. And then he was like, you fucking what? You waited 49 miles to tell me about it? And then, we kind of
I didn't say it that aggressively.
No, but it was like, it was almost like where, he bit back. And then I was like, oh, you didn't get the sarcasm there then, did you? And you went, no, I didn't.
It's because there was truth in it. There was honesty in it.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't see that.
There was truth and honesty.
And there was 49 miles in. There's nothing you can do about that.
No, there isn't. And shops
So,
really.
but anyway, at that moment, that was probably the most we'd spoken throughout the entire thing, because when we were out, we were just kind of out. We just didn't really speak to each other. He was kind of running off, a few yards ahead of me, which, I was perfectly okay with that. And that was really it. And then, I don't think it was until, when Fiona and my dad actually joined us for a run or a walk, that was probably where we did the most chatting and talking. And even in between, we didn't really speak to each other. His bed set up in that room over there, in the dining room. So he'd kind of go and curl up under his duvet, wrap a blanket over his head, and like have his earbuds in and just be listening to something on his laptop. And I'd be laid over here on the opposite side of the living room with my feet up on a chair with my head on a foam roller.
Yeah.
We didn't really speak to each other at all, really. So I don't know how much of a difference it would have made.
I was thinking about it as I was going around, because I run with clients quite regularly, and I have to run it. I'm not saying that I'm faster than them, but generally I'm quicker than them at whatever I'm running. So I have to change my cadence, stride length, and it just wreaks absolute havoc on my knees at times. And it's a case of I've got to adapt to them, which is fine. I can do it, but I've almost got to a point where I'm toughened with that. But I didn't know how you'd fared if you had to basically, if Chris's knees were hurting, you had to slow down.
No, I think we kind of just ran at our own comfortable speeds. And I mean, it did get to the point where it was actually, I don't know if you found this at all, but, I actually felt like it was more comfortable and easier to keep running than it. The more it went on, the more and more, the deeper and deeper you got into the run. It was just easier to carry on, just easier to keep running rather than
with the foot, especially.
Yeah,
my foot especially. If I run slow, I was like, well, I'm taking twice as many hits on that foot as what I need to be. If I run quicker, I'm taking 50% of those hits, and it just took a bit of strain off. I'd try and toe strike as best as possible, and that seemed to help, but it put massive strain on my calf. And I thought, what's going to be more likely to stop me pain within the calf and having a calf injury, or the foot? And at the end, I just thought it's going to be the foot that's going to be the easiest to actually cope with. So I just had to run at a slightly slower plod.
We were just kind of like bouncing and shuffling from one foot to another, just ticking along.
Especially, I got to the hardest run was probably, in terms of, for me, it was 8 o'clock Saturday morning or 12 o'clock on the Saturday, Sunday night, whichever it is. And that was just a pain in the foot, but it was because I could physically hear how I was running differently. So this, like, my left leg was going dish, 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 and the right was going like just trying to clamber along. Like every one you had on this, you had like 2 on the other. It was just not. I was like, I am running so terribly here.
I mean, it doesn't even matter how you run in the end, does it? It just matters that you do run.
What was your standout moments for it then, you think? The period.
What was yours?
Standout moment.
While you have a think, I'll tell you mine. it was on the penultimate run where we'd just done, so like nearly 3 miles out to come 3 miles back. And we just kind of like come up a bit of a hill, and we were on like the home stretch to get back. And out of nowhere, there was just this old geezer. And I think I was actually ahead of Chris for once. And I remember looking on my right hand side, I thought, that doesn't sound like Chris. Because like, you know, like we got used to like what each other's foot straight sounds like. And you know, you just, you know, don't you? And I kind of like looked over my right shoulder. I was like, that's not Chris. And it wasn't. And it was just this really old chap who was just plodding along, came running past. And I just had a moment to myself where I just laughed and smiled, because he must have thought, here I am showing these young folk how it's done. And I'm thinking, you bastard, I've just run 48 miles.
You don't know. See,
Steady on.
That's where I just
showing us up. So I just laughed and cracked a smile and kind of looked at Chris, and I think Chris was pretty vacant at that moment in time. It didn't get a reaction from him.
Do you know what? I recall it happening. I recall you saying something to me, but I'd got my hat over my ears and I didn't get a word of what you said, but I figured that you're laughing about the fact that we've just been overtaken by.
Do you know what? That was another thing as well, right? By the way, he was wearing a hat. Are you wearing a hat on every run?
I think bar 2.
Yeah. So more or less wearing a hat on every run. And we're walking down like past a load of the houses towards through the midnight and the 4 a.m. runs, and we're just having a bit of a chat. And the volume on this guy, I was like, Chris, 4 a.m, shut up. Like, just turn it down a little bit. You were really loud.
I don't think I was louder than I normally am.
We'll get our blaster. I get told off for that.
And then probably my favorite moment was Sunday morning when the alarm went off at 7:30, and I rolled over, and Fiona came with us on the Saturday morning. And she was like, "Oh, I'll come out with you again tomorrow on Sunday morning." So my alarm went off. I rolled over and was like, just nudged her. I didn't punch her in the face. I just nudged her. I was like, "Are you going to come with us?" She was like, "I don't know. I feel pretty tired." And I just thought, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Like, 36 miles in and you feel tired. Right. In fairness to her, like, she was an absolute legend. She cooked snacks and, you know, inter-run food preparation didn't go amiss. I think we had a Milky Bar
Millionaire shortbread.
Milky Bar Millionaire shortbread. She made a Twix Rocky Road, which is loaded with marshmallows. And then she made some peanut butter chocolate chip cookies. So we weren't in short supply.
That sounds spectacular.
She did a solid.
What was yours, Chris, then?
I'm not actually sure. I think
finishing.
If this was just before our last run, or just, it must have been, it was either before our last run or before the run before that. I think it must have been, when was Fiona with us the second time?
Sunday morning. So
I think it must have been Sunday morning, 8 a.m. And we'd gone out and we were at a very steady plod at best. And on the other side of the road, there was this mum with a pram with a baby in, literally running, pushing the pram. And she came sailing past us the opposite way. And obviously we were doing a loop. So we carry on walking and we start coming back on the opposite side of the loop. And she's coming back and she's still tanking it. And she's covered like, I don't know how much more of the distance of this loop. I just thought, wow, Jesus.
She was absolutely tanking.
She was killing it.
Well, did you meet anybody else who was on the Goggins challenge while you were
No, I thought I would do around here, but no. I had a couple of people obviously who joined, a couple of clients joined me on 2 of the runs. Sorry about that. A couple of clients joined me on 2 of the runs, but no one else joined. Because I was thinking, am I going to meet a mate? Am I going to join her? But no, I didn't see anybody, unfortunately. And I was looking at people's, obviously I was doing Facebook posts. I thought, I'll know if someone's doing it because they'll probably post the same time as me. Having said that, my Strava takes like 30 minutes to load up to actually show me what I've done type thing to my profile. But no, I didn't see anybody. I think one of my Facebook friends had a friend who was doing it for a charity, and that was kind of it. So no, I didn't know anybody else who'd done it apart from you, which again was by sheer happenstance that one of my clients said, "Oh, by the way, Alex is doing it." I went, "Is he?" And text you on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Because I was going to do it with Goggins, which would have been like 1 o'clock on Saturday morning. And then you said, "No, we're doing it at 8 on Friday." I was like, that is such a better idea.
Yeah, I remember thinking that when we had that conversation where I saw Goggins posted up like, someone's like, "Hey guys, I'm starting my running at 8 o'clock on 8 o'clock PST." And I was like thinking, fuck you, man. Like, I was like, it's all right, 8 o'clock at night where you are. That'd be like 5 in the morning over here. I'm not starting at 5 in the morning. I'll do it 8 o'clock on a Friday, like you're doing 8 o'clock on a Friday. Like,
it didn't really matter,
doing it with you for the sake of doing it with you. Like, you're on the other side of the bloody world. Like, get lost. I'll do my own.
Well, that gave me permission to do it, because I thought if I'm doing it at 8 o'clock and no one else is, I was like, oh god, so I've got to do it with them. So it was like, it'd been so much more hell, because I've actually had to finish at 1 o'clock in the morning, then, which would have been something like 11 o'clock at night on the Sunday or something. I was like, and then you said 8, I was like, I'm doing that.
Yeah, it's a good job we had that conversation then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had we actually did meet someone. It was quite funny because we were on our first Facebook Live video, like streaming as we set off running, and there was a guy running towards us, we literally turned out our road, turned right, ran about 30 seconds, and there was a guy coming towards us, and I think Chris shouted something like, "Goggins," and this guy shouted back, "Goggins," and then it was like, "Goggins, yeah, Goggins," and it was like, "Hey," like ran past each other, and then like he was running the opposite way around the loop to what we were doing, and then like the 4 a.m. Saturday morning one, we were like, "Oh, he's not there. We haven't seen him. Where is he? Has he done it?" And we didn't see him at any point on that run. We caught him again. Huh?
Did you see him after?
We did catch him on a couple of runs later on. He actually stopped us on one and he went, "How many have you got left?" And I was like, "What do you mean, how many have we got left? Like, fucking running, like, you know what the challenge is? Like, surely you know how many you've got left."
Yeah.
I was like, "We've got 5 to go." And he was like, "Oh, I've got 3 more. I'm just going to walk them." And I was like, "Yeah, all right, fine."
I think it's weird. It's people's interpretation of it. So my interpretation of it as well was, because it's 4x4x4 for 48 hours, but I was like, you've got to complete in 4 miles in 4 hours is the thing, and then you go again. So it was like, "Oh, but have you got a last run at 8 o'clock on Sunday?" And I was like, "No, because it doesn't count, because it's out of the 48. So as long as I run it at 4 and get 4 in, it's done."
Yeah.
Which is what we were speaking about with you, and just saying like, I am not running again at 8 o'clock. I'm done. Then it's out of the 48. Don't count towards it. So let's get it in beforehand and get the 50, 52, 53 brought up. But no. It was a fantastic. Did you find this harder than your rowing challenge?
When we did the 100k row, do you know what? It's weird because, like I said to you, when I did doing this, it was really hard. The first few runs, the first day was really hard. Yesterday, I actually felt really good. I felt like it was getting easier and easier the further we were going. Like, I was getting tired, but in terms of like physical breakdown of the body, like today, I feel all right. When I did the 100k row, that was like, it was just one block effort. And the hard part about that was I felt like when I stood up, I felt like I'd got a rower glued to my ass. Like, it was just because you've been in a fixed position for so long. I don't know, because the rowing challenge, I felt okay with that as well. That was a strange one. The one that does stand out is when I did my first ultra run. That was the hard one. That was hardest.
Yeah.
And I couldn't explain because it was like probably 20 miles shorter than what we did this weekend. But because it was just in one block effort, and I think I'd not run for that either. I'd done one training run, so I suffered a lot more with that. And I was actually ill afterwards. I actually had a cold for about a week because I remember I then had to go and teach an education session on the Wednesday, and I was just like sniffling and dribbling on myself, and a bit of a mess. But that was the worst one. And I think it comes down to preparation. Like Chris summed it up nicely in his final video, with his final commentary, where he was like, he was underprepared for it. That was what it's all about.
Yeah. It's just about carrying on and doing whatever you got to do to get through it, not necessarily about being prepared for it.
Yeah. Well, I did a video on Friday midday, and I never posted it online. It was basically saying how I'm going to get through it. I was going to post it on Facebook, and I sent it to my should we say social media advisor, who said, "That's so fucking boring. No one will stay on for that long, Luke. It's very educational, yes, but it's so boring." And basically all I did is I had everything laid out, what I was going to eat and everything, and written it all out on the whiteboard of what I was going to do. So just prepared there. So basically follow that when you get back. And it just made things so much simpler. But I just said to text saying, is it don't prepare to fail, something like that.
Oh, fail to prepare to
That's
fail.
That's it, fail to prepare to fail. So but that made, again, like you saying with Fiona making you things and stuff, just makes so much. If someone comes and just says that's what you're having on, it's just there for you. Taking all that, giving yourself that certainty makes it so much easier to do.
Yeah.
It's just controlling what you can control within it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if people ask me afterwards, do you think it'd be harder on a bike if you had to go further? And I was like 100%. Because you've got to, well, you said about the rower, like you've got to sit back on a saddle.
Yeah.
Biking's, it's easier on joints but harder on the muscles, I'd say. So like lactic acid build-up and your legs are screaming on a bike. That's a far worse pain than any muscular pain I felt on that run by far. But no, it's character building, as I say to all my clients when they have to go out on a run, say it's raining, do I have to go out?
So what's next for you then? You said you've got a couple more challenges coming up this year. How else are you going to top the 4x4 for 48?
Not sure, mate, because it was on such a whim. So what I generally say to clients is, if, say, for instance, someone's training for a marathon, when we're 75% of the way through the training of the marathon, what's next? Because you're clearly going to do it. And you get almost like, not going a bit of a downer, but once you're there, you think it's going to be this massive day of, yes, I've done a marathon. And then you get to the Monday and you're like, back to work you go. So what's next? So luckily I've got loads of stuff planned in. So the amount of stuff carried over from last year is, got a marathon in May. Got a Manchester Marathon at the end of the year and a half Ironman in September. And there'll be other bits of stuff scattered in between. But one thing I have signed up for that I'm going to do next year is called Rat Race Dirty Weekend, which is 20 miles, 200 obstacles.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to do it and never had anybody to do it with. And a client texted me the day saying, I've just signed up for this. And I was like, I've always wanted to do that. I'm in.
It's a little bit Tough Mudder style, isn't it? And you do,
it is,
do you camp overnight as well?
Yeah, you get like a festival at the end, but it's a bit more brutal. So there's 200 obstacles. So like one of them, I think, is 250 meters worth of monkey bars.
Ooh.
And stuff like that. And then like
over a pit of crocodiles and alligators. Kind
of. There's one of them. It's like I think it's a drainage tunnel. It's about 100 meters long, and basically, if it's rained too much, you can't do it just underwater. But I think it's about, you have to crouch down, like you can't physically stand up through it. 100 meters long, and I think it goes up to about chest level, so probably up to my neck, to be fair. But you've got to get through that, and just again, it's just a different level of stuff. But no, I don't know what will be next. I think, if I'm being truthful, I think Goggins will make this harder next year. With the amount of people that I've seen do it, I think he'll make it harder somehow.
Be interesting, because I don't know. For me, I think the entire point of it is that it is hard because you've never done it before. If you actually break it down in a logical sense, like you said at the start, you can run 4 miles. You can run it in under 4 hours. You could run however many miles in one go. There's no reason why you couldn't break it up, but it's, can you get up at midnight and can you get up at 4 a.m. to go and do those two? Because I think the big thing I found was when you go out and you do the night runs, you get back, you get into bed, or you have a shower, you get into bed, and the next thing you know, you're up again.
Yeah.
And it goes like that. Whereas yesterday, when we finished the 12 midday run, and then it was like, right, now what? It was like 3 hours just lying around, sat around, doing nothing, apart from watching Fulham beat Liverpool. And, you know, you just seeing there's so much time to kill in between. So the rest and recovery is, you know, it's not actually too bad, but I don't think he needs to make it harder. I don't think, what do you reckon?
I think he'll increase the distance. That's what I think he'd do. If he did it, he'd say it's 6 miles. Don't know how I was going to ring to it, but that would be hard. I think that's, what's that point of mileage wise?
You could just turn it into an actual hell week.
What about 4 miles every 4 hours for 4 days?
If I could get sleep, mate, I think I could probably do it. But the sleep's the hardest bit, as we've said before. So,
what was the first thing? This is my final question. What was the first thing you did after finishing that final run?
Had a bath. Went upstairs. Oh, well, I tried to post stuff and everybody's asking me how have you done and this and the other. So I posted a video, went upstairs, had a bath, came back downstairs and I got a ready meal because definitely couldn't be bothered cooking on Sunday evening. So the Sunday morning when Kaylee sent me out food, I went and got a ready meal that I thought I quite like that this evening. So I had that and half a tub of Ben and Jerry's.
Nice.
Good man. Which Ben and Jerry's?
Cookie dough. I normally, if I do a 100-mile bike ride, I treat myself to a full tub of cookie dough. But
Good man.
no, half a tub this time. Should have food in between.
The first thing I did was Chris actually told me off for this. So we were running back and I was recording a little video of myself on this final run and just, you know, talking about how I just put in a finishing burst to get ahead of him, to reestablish the hierarchy and the order of things, you know, as the older brother. And I recorded it. I got home and then I sat on the wall at the end of the drive and I waited. And then when Chris came plodding down, I started the video and we did a little bit on that and saved it. And I sat on the wall and I was like clipping it together to post it to social media to be like, look, we're done. And Chris is stood at the front door and he goes, you gonna fucking let me in or what? I got the keys in my pocket.
I didn't see it that aggressive at all. I didn't even swear. I'd knocked on the door and Fiona came to the door and she tried fiddling with it, what have you. And then she knocked back and I was like, that's odd. So I looked through it.
Hello?
Her face was at the window in the door, the little window, and she went, he's got the key. He'll have to let you in. So later I turned around, I was like, what are you doing, mate? Are you going to let us in or what? I want to go lie down.
So yeah, that was that.
That's ace.
But great fun, great challenge, and what an effort as well, mate.
Yeah.
Very well
I'm to be fair, one of the things is that I had a little look about training and things like that and what to prepare for in the 4 for 28. Just literally Googled it and it came up on Runner's World or something like that. And it told you what to expect. And it said don't go off fast. That's not ideal, obviously. So just set off at a reasonable pace and see where you go. Good advice. Expect to walk. And I was just like, well, that's almost giving people the just walk it. And I was like, I'd be honest, I think during my actual 4x4x48, there was only one bit I walked, and that was with a client to just chat to them, see how they were doing at the start, and that was on Saturday morning, and that was probably about 3 minutes, if that, and then we ran the rest. I just thought it shouldn't be really giving people that. It's okay to walk, but don't like having the expectation of it to start with is not, in my mind, a good sense, because I just think it's giving you a reason to almost pussy out of it. So I just thought, sod you, I'm going to run it all.
And you
That'll give me a bit more impetus as well.
Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for
no problem at all, mate.
To chat through it. Let the people know where they can find you, get in touch, send the complaints.
LG Fitness Training on Facebook, and it will be lgfitnesstraining@gmail.com is my email. You need to get in contact with me. And by the way, guys, anybody who is listening to this, if you haven't donated to Alex and Chris's cause, do it.
Yes, please do. It'd be very greatly appreciated. I don't know exactly how much we got as a tally on what we've raised, but massive thanks to everyone who has donated.
Keep it up for a few more days, mate, and then I'll post this when this podcast goes live. I'll post that onto my social media, and then I'll ask them to kindly donate if they feel.
Top bloke. Massively appreciate that.
And
I'll make sure that we will put your social media contact details on the links to this podcast as well, so people can get in touch with you and go and have a look at some of the videos that you put together and some of the stuff that you posted out there while you were doing the run as well, mate. It was one hell of an adventure.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, it's almost weird to not get messages. I actually had one client, and you'll know him, Sam Sharma. Saturday morning, right? He sent me a WhatsApp, and he went, "Good morning, Alex. Hope the running is going well. Are you ready for number 3?" That was at 20-4 on Saturday morning. So my response to him was, "Go back to bed, man. It's the middle of the night."
What a guy.
So
he's top bloke.
Good fun, good challenge, and
indeed.
Well done for absolutely smashing it, and appreciate the messages that you dropped in between as well. I think it helped to keep each other accountable and
same to you, mate.
Sure. So.
Who's going to carry the boats?
Nice one, Luke. Take care, mate.
See you later. Bye. And that concludes the latest episode with Luke Griffiths. We were talking about the 4x4x48 challenge, the David Goggins challenge. It was interesting to hear the differences between someone who's clearly quite an established runner and us.
Which neither of us are runners.
No. So there you go. If any of you are interested in donating, we would greatly appreciate it. We were doing it for the Pulmonary Fibrosis Trust. We will put the link in the show notes. So take a look at those. We greatly appreciate any help and all the help that we have had so far. So an extra thank you again to all of you people who've already donated or watched our videos, or even if you're listening to the podcast. We hope to see you all again. Lenko out.